everybody, it's Romania Black, and we are on episode 7 of Chihayafuru. And we're getting closer to episode 8, which 8's my lucky number, so I'm really excited about that. But in the meantime, I am recording this on Patreon to come out on my birthday. So what better way to celebrate than with Chihayafuru? And last episode, oh my gosh, we got to meet Kana. I love her already. I love the idea of poor Taichi stuck with these two women that are hard-headed about hygiene and Karuta and getting it all in order, sir. We are not doing shortcuts. So I actually have quite a few comments that I want to get through, so I'm going to dive right into those before we start this episode. Most of them are from episode 4. There's one for episode 5 and one for episode 6, so people are catching up, which is fine. So in Dianca, for episode 5, says, Harada's answer to Taichi's words, I could spend my entire youth and not become stronger than Harada. Hold that thought for now. More accurately translates as, say that after you have actually spent it. Which in my opinion hits stronger, actively inviting Taichi to put his youth on the line and give it a shot. Will it be worth it in the end, or will it be a waste of time? And I kind of love that interpretation because we've established that Taichi, the whole thing Harada set him up with in the first Karuta game that they played was the idea that he's a risk taker. In the game, his strategy is to be the one to gamble and choose the right cards. So that's so interesting that in real life, you know, Harada is asking him to gamble as well, and Taichi doesn't know if he wants to or not. And it's like all these character things are connecting with the symbolism of him as a player, and I'm kind of all about it. Also, this is fun because I just saw a similarity to another show that I can't unsee now. Elementary school, a transfer student appears to give the protagonist that spark of passion and competitive spirit for the sport, and then has to move away, but they make a promise to meet on the top level, and there's also a childhood friend, and they don't keep in touch for 3 years, and when they meet in high school, the kid is in an angsty state, a guy who quits the sport, and now they're on a mission to bring him back. Oh, free vibes, anyone? And the seiyus are the same. Yes, I always, why do I forget? I don't know. But I guess it's because he's a character that's different than what Miyano Mamoru has voiced that I've watched recently. But yes, Miyano Mamoru voices both Taichi and Rin in Free. And then Hosoya voices teenage Arata and Sasuke in Free. So yes, the vibes, the parallels. Now, Am I a Sorin shipper? You better damn believe I am. So I'm still with Chihaya being in the middle there. I don't know if I fully ship Arata and Taichi. I need them more together to push that ship for me. But it's in the harbor. It's anchored in the harbor. It's there. I'm not opposed to stepping foot on it, but I need more. I'm one of those people that I just need a little bit more content, but we'll see where this series takes us. And then Foranoda says for episode 4, the poem of the day is number 33. Spring is here. And there's a lot to talk about this one. First, we have 2 translations that are quite different from each other, from Porter and Mostov. Porter translates the poem as, the spring has come, and once again, the sun shines in the sky, so gently smiles the heavens that it almost makes me cry, when blossoms droop and die. While Mostov translates the poem as, in these spring days, with the tranquil light encompassing the 4 directions, why should the blossoms scatter with uneasy hearts? Those are 2 very different translations. Like there is directional differences in how you've translated those poems. They are not similar at all. Poem 33 is written by Kino Tsurayuki, who is known best for being the principal compiler of the Koken Wakushu and the writer of the Japanese preface to the anthology, the other being in Chinese. This preface was in the first critical essay of Waka, discussing its history and criticizing of its predecessors. So while the poem describes a beautiful spring day and appears beautiful at first, the verses are melancholic in nature. This is evident from the translations above. The first 2 verses describe something positive, a sunny day, while the latter ones capture the imagery of loss. This is a very Japanese or East Asian awareness to the transience of time, the fleeting nature of life, and how beautiful and unforgiving it can be at the same time. The observation of the poet is not one of celebration, nor is it one of mourning. It is of acceptance because that's just simply what life is. So yeah, which seems all the more relevant given that episode 4 was about Arata calling and things not quite being as gonna be set up as Chihaya wanted. There's something paradoxical about a sunny spring day and falling cherry blossoms, but that's just how it is. Next time when you see the usage of cherry blossoms in other anime, consider it for a while. They're a motif often used in conjunction with themes of passing time and ephemeral. Oh friend, your girl has watched many a falling cherry blossom across countless series, so girl knows. Girl knows the symbolism of a cherry blossom tree, don't you worry. The particle ramu from the concluding line, Hana no chiruran, is used to draw a conclusion based on observable phenomena, indicating the poet's questioning of this disjunction of the cherry blossom in spring. Kino Tomonori uses two poetic techniques in spring here. One is Jiji Hinyo, or personification, which, y'all, I'm an English teacher. These terms I use in my class on a weekly basis. So personification, where unsettled feelings are associated to the falling cherry blossoms. Makura Kotoba, where Hisakata is being the pillow word, like Chihayafuru from Poem 17 or Episode 2, is used for atmospheric phenomena and heavenly objects. In relation to the episode, the poem captures Taichi and Chihaya's reunion, as well as her success in the Class B tournament after her years of solitude and training, the spring, but also the brooding ending with Arata's reintroduction, or the cherry blossoms falling and loss. Yes, all of that makes sense, so thank you for expressing that to the audience. Scary Purple Ampersand for episode 5 says, this is spelled like Chihayafuru, but is pronounced... Okay, I had a question because the subtitles in episode 5 said Chihayaburu, and I was like, why does it... Is that a mistranslation? But they said it's spelled like Chihayafuru, but it's pronounced like Chihayaburu due to a quirk of how compound words work in Japanese. Oh, bless. Grammar in other languages, the bane of my existence. Interestingly, it doesn't really mean the title of the show is pronounced that way, but it can be broken down into two words as Chihaya full. I am glad that you expressed that scary purple ampersand. I'm still going to say Chihayafuru, which I'm glad is the right way to do it, but it is good to know a little bit of context of why it's spelled that way in the episode. And then Shimoyama was saying this on Discord. I said in episode 6 that Taichi was like Gaston in Beauty and the Beast, and Shimoyama got a kick out of that. So, you know, if you were like going to change up the song, which I like changing up the lyrics to songs to match certain shows, you were like, no one kicks like Taichi, takes big risks like Taichi, no one throws Karuta cards at the wall like Taichi. And then we said, with his crush, he's stuck in a platonic pyramid. My, what a guy. Well, you could just have a whole song about Taichi as Gaston, and I'm kind of all for it. And then you have at the end of episode 6, Arata sitting on his like pile of Karuta cards like the Beast in the West Wing. So Chihaya is very much like Belle to me, which is why I like her so much. So, you know, what can we do? But yeah, I'm super excited, y'all. I hope you all keep enjoying the reactions and continue to comment, because I really do appreciate all your comments and explanations of the poems. I think that's super cool. I like seeing all the things connect. It's a lot of fun. And now we get episode 7, so I'm super excited. So thank you all for joining me in watching this series. I am so excited to see where it takes me, but we're going to start episode 7 of Chihayafuru, and we're going to do that here in 3, 2, 1, and let's go. Welcome back, Whiteboard Coon. It's been a bit. That's right, Taichi. That's right. You lock in on that. Oh my gosh. This is one of those episodes where I'm really glad for Taichi being here, because it's like, I don't want to diss Arata. I love Arata quite a bit. He is our beast, but our Karuta beast. But I feel like since the start of this series, I have been really excited about Taichi being a character in this show, because I'm not saying, I don't want to give the wrong impression. I'm not saying that Arata has no room for growth, because he definitely does. And I feel at some point in this show, they are going to focus on that, and that's going to be a thing. But at the moment, Taichi has some confidence to gain and some build up for his own character. And I was really excited when he was on board with the Karuta Club with Chihaya, because I'm like, you've got some growing to do, boy. And he is showing it like at this episode. And I'm like, oh my God. So yeah, there's not a love triangle in this series. There is an envy and influence triangle. Or maybe it's just going to become an envy and influence polycule by the end of this. Who knows? But going back on here, we have Chihaya. Chihaya, she was influenced by Arata, who was also influencing Taichi. But Taichi is also influenced by Chihaya, right? So there's that, right? Arata's kind of off on his little island right here. We don't really know what... We could say that he is somewhat influenced by Chihaya, but I'm going to put a little broken line on there because it seems like it's a little bit broken up since he left for middle school. But yeah, but Taichi's there. Meanwhile, we have... we know him as Desk-Tomu, which I didn't realize until I thought about it during the reaction. I'm like, oh, that's a nickname, and that's very sad because it's a mean nickname. It's not like a nice nickname, it's a mean nickname. But we'll get his real name here in a second. He is clearly like kind of in the envy I'm gonna make it like a little snake. It's because snakes are kind of synonymous with envy. So he's kind of envious of Taichi. Taichi is kind of envious of Arata. And I don't know, is Arata envious of Taichi? I think he will be later on, but I don't think we're there yet. But we've got that. And then Kana's over here. Kana's over here, and she just wants us all to wear kimonos. She's like, this ain't hard. So yeah, so we have this at the moment. But, ooh, the connections. Ooh, the connections. I'm really excited about them in this. But yeah, so I think one thing that Taichi is such a great character. Like, Arata and Chihaya, I love them. Their foundations I love from the bottom of my heart. But Taichi is one of these characters that I feel like he is going to grow on me so much over the course of this series because of his growth and development as a character. Chihaya may be the protagonist, and Arata may be the love interest she ends up with, but Taichi's going to be the one we follow on this journey, and I'm so excited by that because he's already had so much growth. So if we're going to talk about Taichi, we might as well put him as he's kind of a focal point in this episode. Even though we meet Desk-Tomu, and that's the thing. So his whole thing from an early age was that if you don't win, it's not worth it. Like, it's kind of like, if you're not... Taichi's mom is like Ricky Bobby's dad in Talladega Nights. It's like, if you're not first, you're last. We just need her to admit she was high when she said that, and then we'll be full circle. But I love that we have this opening scene of the two of them, and it's establishing that Chihaya, when Chihaya has sight and sound working at her advantage, she's really good. Like, she's really good at the first syllable cards, and her memorization is her weak point, as we find out, which Taichi has her on memory. He's a better memorizer, and if he concentrates, he's more... I guess we should put it this way. Chihaya's strengths are the first syllable and sounds. Like, she's good with that. Sound is her advantage. Taichi's advantage is his concentration and his gut instinct combined with memory. Because memory can't only get you so far. At some point, you've got to make a decision. And he even notes that. He's like, once we get into this game with the cards flipped, at a certain point, you're going to start second-guessing yourself. And so your instinct and your memory is going to come into play. And you're going to have to kind of depend on that. And for Chihaya, her gut instinct is not as strong or reliable. So Taichi kind of takes advantage of that, which is really cool to see him confident. I like seeing Taichi confident, especially next to Chihaya, who exudes charisma, right? So he's like, I like Taichi's method of reassessing the situation, where he's trying to say like, okay, so this was already played. Again, what's really cool about this opening scene is that it prefaces a lot. It like foreshadows a lot later on in the episode, because at the very beginning, Taichi is looking through the cards being like, okay, this was played already, so it has to be this. This was played already. Like, he remembers what's already been used in the game, which is a memory trick that he uses before it's even called for later on in the episode, which I really like. I like that a lot, because he kind of emphasizes that. But then it has the two of them. I want to go back to this. Yep. And then we have the OP. Because he says there, he's like, I reacted first. Chihaya doesn't know how to make adjustments based on which cards have been taken. He's like, I reacted first, and she based it off of that. Like, if we look at it this way, we have the idea that Chihaya, she is really good at reacting immediately. And that kind of reflects on her character, because if you think about it, she always like acts before she thinks. So it's very reactionary, just like gut instinct. Oh, there it is. There it is. I heard a sound. Let's go for it. She's very quick to do that immediately. And that's reflective of her character. And we've seen that reflected in how she acts throughout the series so far. Whereas Taichi sometimes overthinks just a little bit. And so Taichi's thing is that he has to gain confidence in relying on his instincts. Like Chihaya, the instincts just like they just come before she can even think about it. They just automatically happen, and then she figures it out later. But Taichi, he's so caught up with overthinking what's happening that sometimes he doesn't rely on his gut instincts. So when he's given the opportunity of having the cards flipped, and he knows that there's not pressure of Chihaya having the hometown advantage, then he's able to kind of focus more and concentrate more, and it works to his advantage. But Arata made him the person that has to choose based on instinct and taking the risk, which seems so tied to his character, right? The thing is, he's not a sore loser. And I appreciate that about Taichi's character. Taichi is not a sore loser, which Kid Taichi from back in grade school kind of was. So again, we get to see him mature a little bit in this opening scene. I love that. If you don't watch RuPaul's Drag Race, you probably don't know about this drag queen. I'm obsessed with RuPaul's Drag Race. I've watched every season of it. But one of the queens, she's been a villain on Doctor Who. She's been Audrey in Little Shop of Horrors on Broadway. But her name's Jinx Monsoon. Anyway, she's one of the more famous drag queens, but she has narcolepsy. So throughout the show, she'd be working on something, and she'd get so caught up and focused and working and putting all of her energy into it that immediately when the project was over, she just collapse. So when I say that Chihaya is kind of like Jinx Monsoon, like I don't think Chihaya has narcolepsy, but it is funny how she just like, she exudes all this energy, pours all of it out, and then just, it's like she's a Dragon Ball Z character that releases a spirit bomb every Karuta match. And then Taichi's like, yep. But okay, here's something else. Okay, look, I know that they're giving us all of these reasons to like Taichi and Chihaya as a couple. I will say that one thing I really love is that he doesn't judge her for falling asleep. He's really attentive to Chihaya, and he's not sexist in the sense of a girl beat me in a match. No, Taichi's big thing is he wants to beat Arata. Taichi's thing is his rivalry is really with Arata, and he constantly undersells himself in this episode being like, well, what if Arata was training her? Am I as good as Arata? And I'm like, Taichi, you are just as good as Arata. Y'all are apples and oranges. You can't compare yourself to them. That's not smart. That's not a healthy thing to do. But I know it happens to all of us. And so it's just like, you just want to grab Taichi and gently shake him and be like, it's okay, man. You're just as good as him. Don't sell yourself short. And honestly, I was thinking about this during the reaction. I'm like, would Arata be a better teacher to Chihaya? I'm not so sure. Because I feel like, whereas Arata, if we're going to talk about him over here, I'm going to put a little arrow here. If we're going to talk about Arata, as far as how he does things, he does kind of have a lone wolf persona. And he also he's so focused on being the best that he kind of lets that take over. And I'm not sure if that translates to him being a good teacher. I feel like one of the condescending phrases that I've heard all of my life, because I'm a teacher, is I've always heard people say, well, those who can't teach. And I hated that growing up. I hated that phrase. I never really, even before I was a teacher, I didn't like it, and it never sat well with me. And I was like, what do you mean? And it just irks me a lot because it's a very condescending phrase. But when I was growing up and going to college, it was thrown at me a lot, being like, oh, well, those who can't teach and those who can do. Like, it's a very condescending phrase in itself. But what it's kind of suggesting is that, if you fail and you can't make it to the level of, I guess the example of it would be that, like, Harada, for example, he's a teacher of Karuta. Well, if he were a professional player that is winning and successful all the time, he wouldn't have time to teach. So the fact that he has time to teach means that he's a failure and he's not successful enough to be doing. That's basically the implication behind that phrase. Now, is that phrase truthful? No. There's a lot of factors of why people teach. Like, it would be like telling a former NBA player who broke their leg and can no longer play, oh, well, you're teaching kids basketball now because you can't be a successful player. That's kind of bullshit. So, but it always baffled me, well, how people would say that phrase, like being a teacher means that you weren't successful at what you did. And I'm like, that's not necessarily true. But a lot of people teach and are successful teachers, however, because they have failed. Because they have, suffered loss before. And the reason why is because if you've been in that position, if you're a teacher, that means you've clearly overcame that failure, you've learned from it, and now you're in a position to teach others and inspire others and help them overcome those same situations. And I think sometimes teachers forget about that. And I think sometimes people that are condescending towards teachers forget about that. But what I'm trying to connect this to is that for Taichi, I think Taichi is a better teacher for Chihaya than Arata because of his failures. Because Taichi has had failure in the past. He's lost to people. He struggles against Chihaya. It means that he has to work harder. He has to work harder to gain success. And along the way, he has to discover not only himself, but also what makes him better. And I think that the fact that he has to go through that is something that he can pass on to others. And he does that in this episode to Desk-Tomu. He passes on what he just learns in this episode to him immediately. And I'm not going to say that Arata wouldn't be a good teacher. I think he absolutely could be. But from what we know of Arata so far, he kind of has a loner personality. He kind of is consumed with his own success. And does that translate to being able to teach others? I don't know. I know a lot of people that I've had that are really, really smart and super successful in their fields, but they can't teach. They don't know how to translate that to an audience that doesn't understand. And so I don't know if Arata would be good at that, or if he would just get frustrated and be like, well, I don't know, why don't you just do what I do? I don't know. And I don't want to say that against Arata because we haven't spent enough time with him to know that for sure. But what I do know is I think Taichi undersells himself. I think he is a good teacher because he understands failure and he's learning and he's figuring out what works and doesn't work, and he kind of can translate that to Chihaya. So I think that's really important to talk about in this. And he's like, I still can't beat her. Karuta refers to the speed at which someone reacts to a card being read. And some people say it's the most important quality a Karuta player can have. I would like Taichi to challenge that, to say that it's not the most important quality. It's just maybe the most common quality or the most recognizable. And Chihaya basically, like, she has an innate ability for that. Like her ability of her hearing, her like movements, her athleticism, like she is a classic case of someone kind of built for the activity. And what's great about that is establishing, I guess there's three ways of putting it. With people, you have ones that are prodigies that get the activity immediately, are insanely successful with it and know what to do and have that drive to succeed. And I would describe Arata as that. Arata to me is like a prodigy. He instantly is good. It's practically genetic, and it comes to him naturally, right? Then I believe that there are people that are built for an activity, that just have all the right parts and pieces. They may not be a prodigy, but they have all the right parts and pieces to be successful. And I think Chihaya is that person. She has all of the foundational elements to be a good Karuta player. She just has to work for it. She has to figure out how to put those parts in motion and how to work those parts. So she's not a prodigy like Arata is, but she's somebody that it does come to and she can pick it up and run with it. Then you have people that do have to put in the work, but when they find their drive and their specialty, then they're kind of a force to be reckoned with. And I think Taichi is that version. Taichi may not be built for Karuta and he may not be a prodigy, but he puts in a lot of work and he has a resolve and a drive. And when he finds his specialty, that's kind of where he gets into his own. So I'm going to be curious to see if this versions of them kind of play out and change as we go, but I am all here for it. I absolutely love it. Meanwhile, Kana just wants to advertise the kimonos. I think Kana undersells herself a lot in this episode. Right now, she's only concerned with what kimono Chihaya is going to wear in the finals on TV. And I'm like, girl, you could be wearing that kimono, honestly. She has an understanding of the cards. So she could be playing that as well. So I'm going to be excited to see Kana come into her own, but this episode is not that episode. And then Taichi's like, Chihaya and I are on completely different skill levels. I have no interest in becoming a master, so I don't mind losing. I like that difference he makes by the end of the episode. He's like, I hate losing. He's like, I hate it, but it's not because my goal is to be a master. Now, I think that Taichi comes at it in a pretty healthy way in this episode because, if your goal is to achieve this one rank and this one position and you don't make it, then the game kind of becomes a all stakes, we're going all in, do or die situation. And if you don't get that one thing you want, then you kind of feel like you're a complete failure and life is over. And for Taichi, he's like, I'm not trying to become a master like Arata. That's not my goal. He's like, so if I don't make it to that place, whatever. But I'm going to be pissed if I lose because who likes losing? No one. He's like, I want to win. I want to be successful because it makes me really happy when I do succeed. And that's kind of the healthier mindset to have about it. It doesn't need to be an all or nothing situation. And Chihaya doesn't exactly have that mindset either. She is like, I just want to play and have fun and keep playing Karuta. Whether I become queen or not is just like a bonus. And for Taichi, he's like, I'm really happy when I win, so why wouldn't I want to? And so, of course, I like that he has this drive to play Chihaya. But, of course, his inner saboteur is like, would Arata be the better person to play with? Would she become a better player? And I want Taichi to realize that's not on the table. You need to focus on you. Chihaya is with you. And we'll talk about that later in this episode. But I'm like, Taichi, you can't wonder about those what ifs because they're just what ifs. They aren't even on the table. Also, Chihaya is a damn zombie. She's just like, oh yeah, I need to go do this. Girl. And so she goes to find the second smartest in the class. And so she's like, the second smartest person in our grade, Desk-Tomu-kun. So does nobody know his name? Does anybody know his name? So I like that she had the bread to try to bribe him, and then it doesn't even work out at all. So meanwhile, Desk-Tomu is copying English terms, saying like the terms internet and blah, blah, blah. He has his milk there. He's so cute. What a precious little bean. And I don't mean like the jelly bean comment or whatever, but he's so precious. You know what? The guy that's like calling him creepy or whatever, I'm like, he is the stereotypical high school jock that peaks at age 18 and ends up being like a balding nobody that just works construction in the town that you lived in. Not trying to diss anybody that works construction. Y'all are valid. But I know guys like that in high school that are just doing jack shit now or like in a mediocre job, and good for them. But they talked so much smack in high school about how popular they were, and they talked down to so many people. I know guys like that. And now you see them at like your reunion and you're like, oh, that's what you're doing? Oh, okay. And so it's like, what right did you have to judge anybody? You know, what right did you're not a millionaire, so just calm down. And so I feel bad for Desk Tomu because I'm like, he's the guy that will go on and like run an IT company and be the millionaire. And you'll be sitting there in your 9 to 5. And it's like, really, you're making fun of him? Okay. I always think of Romy and Michelle's high school reunion. It's one of my favorite 90s movies where the one guy that they call a dork like ends up as the millionaire. And it just, what a great movie. Go watch it. But yeah, Desk Tomu-kun. So he just wants to study. He's so cute, precious bean. But yeah. And he's like, these. One thing that gets me is while he says that they're judgmental, he really likes studying. He likes personal success, which Karuta is something that would be good for him because you get a lot of personal success. You're the one that's succeeding. You're not relying upon anybody else. But one thing that gets me is that he was like, the harder I work, the higher our class's averages are. He wasn't even talking about himself. He wanted to do it to help them, his class. And they're so ungrateful. And I'm like, he's actually a considerate person. He's not a narcissist. So I kind of love that. He's like, and they're like, oh, you're just glued to your desk. But Mashima-kun from class 1 is really something. I wish we could trade. And that's where I feel sad for him because it's like Taichi is envious of Arata because of the sway he has over Chihaya, and he wants to have that same influence, which I think you will, Taichi, my dude. You just got to give it time. And then I feel like Desk Tomu-kun, he is jealous of Taichi because he thinks Taichi has it all. It was such a grass is always greener situation in this episode where Desk Tomu thinks that Taichi has it all and Taichi thinks that Arata has it all. And it's like, oh my God, y'all, if we should learn anything from this episode, it's that everybody always envies something from someone else. And the reality is you both are worthy of love. And now Chihaya shows up. She just grabs him and makes him come and be in the Karuta Club or the Karuta Club. She doesn't even use the bread as manipulation. She's like, nope, time to go. And she just does not accept no as an answer. Our girl is absolutely fierce. Just, nope, you're coming whether you like it or not. Now, one thing I love is when we come back to this scene of Taichi and Kana, is that he is there telling her how wide the field of play is. And he's like, you can use your elbow and the number of cards. Like, he's sitting there teaching her how to play. Like Taichi is a good teacher. I don't know if Arata could do the same type of explanation that Taichi is doing. And he sells himself short because of it. And I'm like, my dude. But then Chihaya shows up and she's like, teach him how fun this is. I feel sometimes when I recruit for the speech team, it is very difficult to convince people to do competitive public speaking because so many people are afraid of public speaking, especially Gen Z. They're like, talk in public. What? And I'm like, come on, it's super fun. Look at how much fun we're having. And I feel like Chihaya, when I'm recruiting, I'm just like grabbing people and I'm like, you need to do this activity. I feel like Chihaya. I can relate to her. We are on the same wavelength. Girl, I wouldn't drag a desk across campus though. That's pretty heavy. I'm gonna throw my back out. But yeah. So at first, she's like, this isn't just a game. I liked how she's like, well, don't you want to become smarter? So Chihaya is a little bit manipulative. Because at first she's like, oh, I'll just use this milk bread. And when she sees that a simple bribe is doing nothing, she's like, well, you want to be the top of your class, right? Well, playing Karuta will make you smarter, sir. I thought whenever he saw Taichi playing, he would instantly develop a rivalry with Taichi because he would think that Taichi's staying at the top of the class because Karuta is helping him. So I thought that would be a factor in him joining, but he is not so easily swayed. And she says memorization skills, will help you in your studies. And he's like, oh, you memorize the positions of every card. And he's like, well, no. While that's the most basic step, he's like, and they're like, let's just play. I really love that Chihaya is so accepting. Again, her classmates are all rude and they're non-inclusive and they suck. But she is like, Chihaya does not judge people. She wants you to play. She wants people to have fun. And she's like, well, you're smart. Let's go. And I love that she says the players get memorization time, so hold on. And he's like, well, if it's the most basic step, and you have excellent memory, then you should just be able to play with the cards flipped over. And she's like, well, that's not concentration. And he's like, but you still can't do it. So is it really helpful? So yeah, the fact of the matter is, again, we talk about how the grass is always greener. What's also good to note is that a lot of times when we think that people think certain things about us, we're proven quite wrong. Taichi didn't even know who this kid was. He didn't even know who the second smartest in the class was. And it's not because Taichi's a dick. It's just Taichi just didn't know. And so Tomu kind of gets a little bit offended by that, being like, you don't even know who I am? Excuse me? So yeah. So she's like, well, let's just give it a try. And we'll try to play it just to see if what happens. And so then Tomu ends up staying. But yeah. I didn't realize they had so much time to memorize. I thought the time that they had was mainly just to organize the cards and place them in the right position they wanted. I didn't realize it was also memorization time. So we're getting some world building as we go. But yeah. And then they start to play. And Taichi realizes he has a better memory than her. So he's better at the game. I love it. And I love Taichi starting to feel like, oh, I do have some confidence. I can do this. I am getting it. I'm better than her at this. And I think that this is so important for Taichi. Like, Tomu doesn't even realize he has helped out Taichi so much in this episode because Taichi was getting a little bit bummed, being like, am I really a good teacher? I can't beat Chihaya in an actual game. What am I doing here? But again, the situations change. And they talked about this in previous episodes, that it's good to have a big team because you get used to playing other people and you need variety to know where your strengths and weaknesses are. And in this episode, just changing the game up a little bit that puts Chihaya at a disadvantage allows Taichi to get the confidence to do well and then kind of get a little nip of that confidence that makes him like want to have more resolve and determination to play. I love it. I love that you have Arata, who when we see Arata in the game, it's like fierce, ice cold, steel, just 1,000-yard stare. But with Taichi, it's this like warm amber, like just fire within. Of course, Taichi and Arata would have a fire and ice symbolism. Of course they would be. And my poor dog has seen a squirrel outside, so he's probably going to bark about it. And he's over here looking at me like, did you know there's a squirrel outside? I'm like, yes. Huckleberry is like Taichi, just a wee bit. But I love it. I love when and again, Chihaya looks over and she sees Taichi and she's like, this isn't the Taichi I'm used to practicing against. And he's so in the zone. I love that he looks so ominous and imposing, like with the shadows underneath him. I'm like, girl, uh-huh. Yeah. And I think that the thing about it is, Chihaya, even though I think she's attracted to both of them in senses, but she hasn't come to that conclusion yet because we're not near that point. But I think this is one of the first times she looks at Taichi and is like, oh, okay, you're in the zone. All right. But that just makes her want to win even more, right? And then he ends up beating her. I love it. It's just so good. And he's like, I hate to lose. Mm-hmm. And I love that he like looks over at her and I'm like, the hating to lose is not just about the card game. He's like, I don't want to lose you to Arata. And then we get the moment here where he goes after that card to get it at the last minute and take it for himself. And then it flashes back to all those moments where she's looking at Arata and Arata's looking back at her. And he's like, I'm the one sitting across from you right now. I'm here now in this moment. Look at me. And I'm like, ah! Yes, he's like, look at me, bitch. I'm right here. Don't you look at Arata. He's not here right now. I am here. And I'm going to prove myself and assert my dominance right here. And I'm like, damn straight you will, Taichi. Damn straight you will. I love that. I'm the one sitting across from you right now. Fleetwood Mac's playing Love the One You're With. Yeah. And then I like that at first when she collapses, you think it's because she is, having the narcolepsy, but then she's like, I'm so mad. And at first she's just like, son of a bitch, I lost. But then he's just like, okay. He's like, it's fine that you lost. I know what that feeling. And when he gives her the head pat, Taichi knows what it feels like to lose. So he understands her frustration, but that helps them bond more in that moment. So it's like, it's just so good. It's so good. So then when Desk, and then she's of course like, well, her little badger face. I feel a little bit like Chihaya and Taichi remind me of Parks and Rec of Leslie Knope and Ben Wyatt a little bit. They do remind me of them a little bit, which I'm like, if that's signaling that they're going to be a couple, I don't know. We'll see. But their dynamic here reminds me a little bit of that. So then Desk-Tomu gets jealous. He's like, well, Taichi not only has the grades, he has the girl, which he doesn't, for the record. We're just shipping and developing. He's like, he's got everything, and I'm envious of him. But here's the thing. The thing that gets me is that Taichi comes after him. And he's like, you are saying, Desk-Tomu, that you always feel left out and that everyone's holding you at arm's length. He's like, we're inviting you to play. We're inviting you to join. We're giving you that opportunity that you seem to want. He's like, why would you back away from it? Because you're scared? He's like, why are you leaving? And he's like, what's your name? And he's like, why do people like him exist? And he's like, hey, he has friends and talent. And he's perfect. Yeah. And Desk-Tomu's like, no matter what I do, no matter how I win with my scoring, even if I become number one, they'll never let me in their circle. And I love that Taichi's like, well, hey, we're offering you in that circle, so you can come if you want to. I also love Taichi's shirt. The things make people happy. That shirt's great. My poor dog is like going crazy. And then he says, I'm not like you. All I can do is study. I belong behind this desk. I love the idea of the desk as a metaphor, that it's a barrier, that it's a wall, that it's a construct to keep you in this complacency, this sense of security. And Taichi in that moment realizes that is exactly what he went through in elementary school. He's like, I could spin. He's like, what's the point of doing it if you can't win? He's like, I was behind that desk too. And then he's like, I could spend my entire youth on Karuta without ever becoming better than Arata. And Taichi, that moment, he understands Desk-Tomu's envy. He knows it because he has it himself for Arata, but he just kind of overcame a part of that hurdle in this episode by saying like, no, I'm here right now. I'm going to get better. And I love when he puts his hands on the desk in the same way that he does. And he just chucks it. I thought he was going to have the desk hit a window, and I was like, oh my God, you're going to break school property. But him chucking that desk and destroying that barrier is so freaking good. It's so damn good. I love it so much. These desks are also pretty indestructible. I love it. He's like, I don't have any talent either. I don't have any talent for it. It's tough, but I still play. I keep losing, but I still play. Because when I win, it makes me so happy. Ah! Oh, I know why you chose to play this character, Miyana Mamoru. I know, I get it. Oh. He's like, I may suck. I may not be a prodigy. I may not be built for it, but when I do win, it's amazing. And he's like, I'm going to keep trying because when I do get Chihaya to smile at me, when I do get her affection, it's the best thing in the world. No one fights like Gaston. Then he says he's lame, and he's like, but instead of a Karuta genius, I would rather have our new member be someone else who puts in effort. I mean, Taichi doesn't need another prodigy to compete with. But he's like, I'd rather have somebody who works hard. He's like, because I can relate to them. And we can help each other. And then he's like, well, what are you talking about? That doesn't make any sense at all. Taichi's like, fine. And then when he walks away, I'm glad we at least get in this episode that Desk-Tomu understands, because he's kind of been doing that this whole time too. He keeps studying and keep doing well, and part of it, he thinks he's a little defeatist, but there is a part of him that he thinks eventually it's going to work out and he's going to be able to get invited into that circle, and here's his chance. So I'm glad he turns around. I'm glad he makes that decision to go forward. It's so good. Oh, I love it. This episode was amazing. Taichi's growth, the desk metaphor, beating Desk-Tomu. I'm sure we'll get his name in the next episode, which will be fine, but this episode was so simple and compact, but yet had so much good going for it. Y'all. Just, I love it. I love it so much. So there's that. But yes, what did you all think of Taichi in this episode? What did you think of Taichi? What do you think of Desk-Tomu? Can you relate to their struggles? Because I know I can, and I'm super excited. Chihaya, can you relate to her and her mission? What did you think of this episode? I want to know. But anyway, I hope you all have a wonderful week. Please stay safe, take care, and yeah. I can't wait because next week is episode 8 and it's my lucky number. And I can't wait to talk about it here with episode 8 of Chihayafuru. I'll see you then. Bye.